All right, guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you can see, we are podcast style today. And I don't know if I told you this, Eric, but this is the very first episode of the new podcast. So
oh, cool. I feel honored to be guest number one.
So the title is Beyond the Grind, where we're going to interview business owners, entrepreneurs who are just crushing it in their businesses and just getting tips along the way. So awesome. With me is Eric Yu. He has been, we met about a year ago now, this past summer?
Yeah. No, like 7 months maybe?
Okay,
7, 8 months.
Yeah. So 7, 8 months. We hit it off because I was filming one of my clients and Eric came in and helped us a little bit. We played some golf and that's where we really hit it off. Yeah. Just because, no pun intended, by the way, just because we both love the game of golf. We're around the same age and we just really vibe together. So we've been working together ever since, and you had been just crushing it in Airbnb and things like that. So just wanted to pick your brain on that today. So
totally happy to talk about it.
Yeah. So how's it going, man? How's
good? Life is good. It's been a year and a half now since I quit my W-2 and started focusing on real estate, figuring out what life means, all that fun stuff. And last year was my first full year going into entrepreneur, business owner life. And I'd like to say it was a pretty good success, set a lot of the foundational blocks to keep growing off of and building on for this year and moving forward.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So yeah, just wanted to touch on a few things today because again, I was just really impressed with your story. Like when we first started talking, you starting out in tech, you're working with Facebook and Instagram for a little bit, and then you just left and then basically went into the real estate world. So first with Facebook, how was that experience? How did you get to that, or how did you get that job, and kind of take us on that journey a little bit?
Yeah, we're going way back. We're going 6, 7 years ago. So I went to school at the University of Michigan, go Blue, and I got my computer science degree out there. So for me at the time, it was all about, what are ways I can get out to the West Coast? How can I get to San Francisco? I think I've always had an entrepreneurial drive. And San Francisco, Bay Area, that's the land of the entrepreneur, right? All the startups are out there. So my main goal was to make it out there first. So for me, the easiest way to get out there was getting a software engineer job. And fortunately enough, after interviewing around, I was able to lock in one of the big tech companies as well. And that's where the career started.
Awesome. At the time when you went to Facebook, was it kind of like your dream job, or was it like, oh man, I made it when you got that job?
Oh man, asking the good questions. I feel like, my whole life, 0 to 21, graduating college, it was all built up toward how do I get a good job out of college? How do I find, something that not only pays the bills, but sets me up for the rest of my life? And I can actually remember I was on the plane ride back from San Francisco after I had interviewed at Facebook when I got my first offer letter acceptance, and that was at Google. So I remember I opened my laptop and I was like, oh shit, my life is about to change. Life is set for forever. I'm going to be able to be self-sustainable, right? So that was the dream. That was the top of the mountain, and I'd been chasing that top of the mountain for 21 years. So I felt like I had made it. And for a long time, it felt like that until I realized there's a lot more to life than just your job and your career. And that's really when I started that whole transition out of the W-2 and into real estate.
Wow. So was there a specific moment, when you're working at Facebook, or actually let's take it back. So what was it like working with Facebook? Was it kind of like the movies showing just camaraderie everywhere? You work at these fancy buildings and things like that. Kind of tell us a little bit what a typical day in a life was like.
Yeah, no, happy to. The Facebook campus was actually designed by the same person that designed Disney. So it actually feels like an adult playground in there. Lots of colors, food, game machines, arcade, music room. They've got everything. You really could live at Facebook if you wanted to. So that was amazing. And I think they really, lure you in with that, right? It's very hard to leave when you've got your food covered, your entertainment covered. You can't live there, but to some extent, housing covered with the salary. So, my typical day in the life, I would honestly, the time I woke up was very different every day. If I felt like I had more that I wanted to do, more work I wanted to do, I could wake up as early as 5, go on into the office. Typical days probably started at 8 or so. I'd go to the cafes, get myself a nice big breakfast. After eating breakfast, just get back to my desk, start doing some of the work, taking on the meetings. And then normally from like 9 through lunch, just like get the most important stuff done. And then that noon period, I would go grab lunch with coworkers, then just work the rest of the day till 5 or 6 or so. So, I mean, was it chill? No. I'm saying like the most ideal day in the life I had. Some days it was like 12-hour days, 13-hour days, but it all kind of varied. What I'll say is like them having food open up at 6 p.m. made it so that there's a lot of days where I wanted to stay behind just so I could catch the dinner run, right? So all in all, like it's pretty similar to how they paint it in the movies and like the TV show Silicon Valley. It really does feel like a playground. But at the same time, you got to hustle and you got to grind to succeed there as well.
Got it. So like when you initially went into Facebook/Instagram, did you start like at the bottom and just kind of work your way up, or were you kind of start at the middle tier and make your way up, or what was it like?
Yeah, as a new grad out of college, you start at the same spot when you're an engineer. You start at the base level, which is E3. And then based on whatever level you're at, there's different kinds of expectations and requirements over time. So essentially, you just get more and more responsibility over time. So start at 3 and then you slowly work your way up. And then E5 is that terminal level. So once you reach that level, technically speaking, it's not like an up and out anymore. Like you reached a level where you don't have to keep leveling up and you could stay the rest of your career at that 5 level. So what that means for engineers at least is 5 is a senior engineer, 4 is like intermediate, and then 3 is a junior engineer.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And so what was I'm assuming you went to E5, right? Did you
yeah,
go to E5?
yeah.
Okay. So like how long was it from you going from E3 to E5? What was that progress?
It took me 3.5 years. So my 3 to 4 growth was pretty fast. It took a year. So 2 6-month cycles, and then I was able to get the first promo. The second promo was a bit tougher. It was, 2.5 years. So there was like ups and downs. I switched teams, and every time you switch teams, you have to rebuild context. So you have to, rebuild the relationships, work the political game again until you can, have enough clout to get that promotion. They say it is a super non-biased kind of approach, and I believe for the most part that's the case. But it's still people promoting people, so there's some kind of political part in there as well.
Gotcha. So now we're getting to the point where, obviously you're in real estate now. So can you pinpoint like a specific time where you're just like, dude, I need to do something different? Like this, I know I love the tech world. I studied for it in school. I'm at one of the biggest companies on earth.
Yeah.
Like was there like a specific moment where you're like, dude, I need to do something different?
If you go to my YouTube channel and you look at a video I made in 2019, this was 2 years after I started my job. I had already said 2019, it's going to be the year of passive income for me. So I had already started thinking about how I can create additional income streams at the time. There wasn't really the belief that I needed to quit my job yet, but I remember I was thinking, oh man, like if I have more income in addition to my Facebook income, that just makes me a little bit safer and a little bit more bulletproof in case anything bad happens with my job. So I was already starting to think about that stuff. And I would say it was probably COVID timeline where I was really like, man, this is not it. Just working at home every day, not getting to see people. Of course, it's a super unique situation, but I just felt like there was more that I could be experiencing and getting out of life than what I was doing. And that's when I knew it was time to make changes. So probably like mid 2020 or so.
Wow. So like what were kind of the steps you took to basically make the transition? Like, did you watch a lot of YouTube videos? Did you kind of just like study about the craft, or what was kind of like your process like?
Yeah, in terms of the real estate side of things, I think I followed the path that most real estate investors do. They hear about Bigger Pockets, they hear about Brandon Turner's book, the book on real estate investing, start going on the forums, start messaging people, that whole journey, right? I started there as well. Then I started seeing a lot about Airbnb arbitrage, which by this point, all the TikTok gurus, all the Instagram gurus talk about it. So there's like a huge flood of people into the Airbnb arbitrage space. My personal opinion is that there's always going to be like the maybe top 5% of properties that you can do this with, but it is way too fucking saturated now. So if you're considering arbitrage, you need to play to be like one of the absolute best. If you're playing to be in the middle, you're gonna be screwed. That's my honest opinion on it. So yeah, I stumbled across Airbnb arbitrage. It's was actually planning on quitting to like do it full time, but then the pandemic happened, so it didn't make sense for me to take that big of a risk. So instead, I started researching other ways of like, oh, maybe I could like buy a house and do this instead. Like, why do I need to rent and do arbitrage if I have enough capital to buy? So shortly after, got my first property in October of 2020. The way the house was set up, we had a little guest unit in the back and then the main house out front. Me and my girlfriend Wanda, we lived out of the guest house and then we Airbnb'd the main house. So we spent about a month decorating, painting, switching out some of the appliances and whatnot before getting it all ready, and then launched it, and that's never looked back since.
Wow. So like your first year of doing that, like was it enough to cover like what you were making at Facebook, or was it, did it cover like a majority of it? Or?
Yeah, I was making a lot on Facebook. I mean, like even now I'm not making as much as I was making at Facebook at the time. I think you got to set reasonable expectations for when certain milestones can happen. At Facebook, you know, when I left, I was making almost $400K a year. And to get to that amount with my properties, I would have needed at least like 12 to 15 of them or so. With the properties that we had set up, we were pulling in like 2 to 3 grand net per month. And we got to a point, so after the first one, we picked up 2 more. And those 3 in total were making anywhere between like, on like slow seasons, like 4 to 5K to like high season, the best month we ever had, we made 14K net. So it has variance, right, because of Airbnb. But if you look at it on a year holistically, it's roughly around like 70 grand or so, 80 grand, which is more than enough to live off of. And that was kind of the goal for us. It wasn't about replacing all of that income right away. It's more so having enough income so we have the time to leave and focus on other projects, building up other income streams, and then starting to build our own businesses.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because like, yeah, you're making 400K at Facebook, but I think the benefits of owning property, there's so much, like obviously, the tax benefits. And I think just like the long term, like I feel that obviously you're going to stay consistent with it. The more you're going to build up, there's going to be so much other streams of income you can build out of it, like the appreciation for the properties and things like that. So
yeah.
And then not to mention, I mean, the 400,000 at Facebook puts you at like the highest tax bracket, right? So, you're making what, like really like 50 grand a year? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like everyone is so impatient about quitting their job right now. And if you're in a toxic situation, sure, go do that. But if you have the time and patience to build up these income streams while you're still working, that's what I tell people to do. Once you leave, you don't have that W-2 anymore, it's going to take you 2 years before your income starts counting again. While you have your job, leverage it. Use it to get assets. Use it to build businesses. It's not a bad thing to have a job, even if you hate it, as long as you know what you're using it for and leveraging it toward, right? So your job is, like, I tell people all the time, without Facebook, I would not have this other stuff, right? Without the income, I would not be able to buy the properties. It's not a bad thing to have a job, no matter what people tell you online.
Got it. And so comparing the two now, you're doing your real estate thing, you left, or you're doing the tech thing, left and did your real estate. So what was the kind of difference, or what are kind of the contrasting characteristics between the two as far as like workload, stress, like mental fortitude and things like that?
Talking about like stress and the differences between real estate and tech, there's still stress, like it's not like my stress just disappeared. It's just a very different kind of stress. So instead of, deadlines, timelines kind of stress of like executing on a technical thing, it's more stress about managing people, working with people, making sure that other people are doing what they're expected to do. So that part's kind of stressful. In terms of like the day-to-day and fulfillment, I have always been more of a people kind of person. So I get to interact with way more people this way. My day-to-day is much more fulfilling to me now, I think, than it was back when I was working in tech. I'd say, I liked writing software, but I was never amazing at it, right? I feel like it was something great to pay the bills, but I much prefer having interactions with people on a day-to-day basis. And I think I get a lot more of that in real estate.
Cool. So now you're in real estate, you're doing the investment thing, and then now you're an agent. So what was, I guess 2-part question is, what made you want to become an agent? And then what steps did you take to become a real estate agent in the local market?
Yeah, so I quit my job in July of 2021. So at that point we had the 3 properties running, mix of house hack and investment type properties. And then it was a big, reflective period after that. After I had quit, that was the first time in like 4 years I could really slow down and think and figure out what I wanted to do in life. So for that like next 2 or 3 months, I just started thinking like, what do I want to do? At the same time, I had like a couch potato phase where I just played a lot of video games. And at some point I was like top 100 in the world at this Tetris game. So that was kind of crazy. But I realized that a big part of what I do and what I enjoy doing is service and giving back to people as well. So I became an agent to help people start on the same journey that I went on, help people that were feeling similar things that I was feeling while I was still working, and help them, at least take that first step toward financial freedom. So that was a big part for me. I wanted to get my agent license so I could help other techies, other corporate millennials start breaking out of that pattern as well.
Okay, that's great, man. So is there a specific team that you're a part of right now, or do you spearhead your own team? Or?
Yeah, I'm a part of this thing called the FI team. So FI team was founded by Craig Kurlop, who's out in Denver. He wrote the book, The House Hacking Strategy. So if you haven't read that, go check it out. Great book. He has been looking, to grow his presence and the team into different areas. So I reached out to him and we started talking, and Seattle was a natural fit to grow the team to. So I've been leading that team and growing it out here. Right now we're at 2 agents and I'm hoping to grow it to 5 by the end of the year. Nice.
So what are other goals that you're working on right now? Like other, whether it be like real estate, investing, or part of growing your real estate team?
I've been thinking about that a lot. So I think if we talk about 2022, a big part of that year, last year, was how can I get as involved and how can I build my brand as best possible? So I really threw myself into a lot of different initiatives and projects just to kind of see what sticks and what doesn't. This year is more of a year of like focus and narrowing down for me. So I had some success in sales, had success in coaching, property management, investments, Airbnb, a lot of different things. But I think the like 2 primary focuses for me this year is going to be on the sales side of things and coaching. I want to like dedicate all my efforts there. Because like I said, I enjoy helping people along the journey. So education and coaching is just something that I think naturally I really enjoy. And then the sales side of things, it's really just like a function of there's so many agents out there that are not as investor savvy and not as many investor agents themselves. So people like help with investments, but when they don't have their own properties, it's a very different game we're talking about versus when you actually own properties. So I want to keep helping people as like an investor agent as well. Those are my 2 things. And then the third thing is I've got this rehab and new construction project that I'm working on. So we're finishing up the main house and then we're building a detached ADU in the backyard. That I hope to wrap up this year, sometime near like the end of fall, start of winter. I would say that would be a huge success once we get to see all of that come together.
That's awesome. That's really exciting, man. Yeah, I took a look at, or we filmed at your your property in Seattle. Dude, it was like night and day from the first moment I got there till now. It's just like incredible. Dude.
Yeah.
It's awesome work to you and your team for putting that together.
Thanks, man.
As far as, okay, say I'm like brand new to the world of investing. So what would you say I should focus on first? Should it be like saving my money? Should it be like networking and trying to get other people's money to buy my first property? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
When you first get started, and I'd say this is the case for anything, when you get started in something new, it's going to be such a black box and you just need to like build up as much knowledge and context as possible. So like podcasts, books, but more importantly, just talking to people who have already done it or have gotten to like the next step of the journey that are ahead of you. So if you want to get into Airbnb, for example, I'm a good person to talk to because I've gone through it. I know how everything works and I can help you out. If you want to talk to someone about wholesaling, there's plenty of people that you can reach out to on BiggerPockets. Even though, like reading books, podcasts, all of that is great in theory and you need it to build up your context. If you really want to like up level and like speed up the amount of time that you want to take to like get that first investment, hiring a coach or finding a mentor is a very important thing, I think. And I'm always going to buy into that line of thinking.
Yeah.
No bias here. I'm a coach myself, but no bias.
You hear that? Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about your coaching. So without giving too much away, because, you know, obviously you have a lot of your secret sauce stuff in there. I mean, what's kind of like the bare bones of your program, and what type of person, I guess, would be perfect for your program?
Yeah, so I'm working on retooling a lot of it right now. I just did my first session with people. Very successful first session, got people into it, shared a lot of knowledge. And what I want to do now is take the feedback from the first session, improve the program, and like build an even more killer product, right? Every time I do my coaching program, I want it to be better than the last time that I did it. So it's all about, you know, how to get started in real estate investing, all the things that you need to think through on like the bank side of things, buying a house, all of that good stuff, how to actually set things up for Airbnb, and then when is like the right time to quit your job. So those are like some of the topics I go through. What I really want to build with this program is a long-term community though. I want people to go through this program and have a support system of other people that are doing the same thing and that get to grow together, grow with each other. So that's the long-term plan at least.
Gotcha. And so with that said, with the program, is it a one-on-one, or is it like you talk to a group, or how does it usually work with that?
So the very first cohort was a small group coaching session. So we'd meet once a week, talk about things, and I'd have calls with each of them individually as well. Long term, I think I'm going to be moving more toward like a weekly community call. A lot of the educational stuff will be in Kajabi or some kind of online video format. The reason being, it's some of the knowledge I share does not make as much sense until you get the first property. So I felt like, you know, if people want to get the most out of it, they need to take it in phases. Me telling them, you know, how the heck you set up an Airbnb before you have an Airbnb is not going to be as relevant, right? So I want to just always have it in video format so they can have it as like a self-guided learning pace. And when they get to that spot, then they can look at what they need to do.
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha. And so with that being said, would you, let me try and word this correctly, like with your program, are you looking to go all in with that this year? Or is it kind of you're spreading your energy through that, your Airbnb business, your real estate team, your investing career? What's kind of like, if you could put a percentage on each bucket, what would it be?
I'm going to say sales and coaching play the large majority of my time. So with the sales side of things, I have to spend probably at least half of my day just nurturing clients, finding more clients, going on showings, all of that stuff. But the majority of the rest of my time is going to be put toward coaching. I think online these days, you see so many coaching programs. And what I want to do is make sure I'm creating the best possible product. It's a very Alex Hormozy thing, right? Like you can spend 2 years building a product and sell it for life, or you can spend 2 months and you'll just never be able to sell it.
I remember seeing that quote. Yeah.
I want to make sure that it has genuine value and it's a no-brainer for people to buy the product. That's kind of my goal with what I'm doing.
Cool, man. Cool. You know, last question for me, like, you know, a part of the podcast is just about, you know, helping people build their businesses, you know, inspiring people to get into entrepreneurship, just because people can easily get stuck in a rat race, right? So if you have, say I'm somebody that's looking to start my own business, what advice can you give to that person to basically take the leap of faith and go into entrepreneurship?
Level set and have good expectations for yourself. You're not going to be an overnight success overnight. Most overnight successes you see have been doing it for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, right? So understand that it's going to take a lot of time and that there's going to be lots of ups and downs. Once you have it in your mind that you're ready to commit the time and the fact that it's going to require a lot of effort, then just take the first step. I think what happens for most people is they see the online successes. They see people making 100 grand a month. And when they don't get that 100 grand a month by the second month, they're like, oh, fuck, this is too hard. I'm quitting, right? But if you know, like, you're going to put in 2 years of your effort, 3 years of your effort on this, I promise you, like, you stay consistent day in, day out, you work on your craft, you master your craft, and you become really good at it. You're going to see the fruits of your labor later on, but you need to be able to delay that gratification. I'd say that's the main thing. And in terms of, you know, just getting things started, reach out to a coach, reach out to a mentor. You're not the first one to think of starting a business, right? Many people have thought of starting businesses, so start talking to people that have, and then it'll help you along the way as well.
And so one of my other final questions is, like, what keeps you going? Like, I know, like, I'm going to re-say it again. Like, you were making 400,000 at Facebook. Now you're doing another career that doesn't pay as much, but it feels like I could see the passion in your face. Like, you love real estate. So like, I'm sure there's the ups and downs, the roller coasters of entrepreneurship kicks in. So the days that you just feel like you want to give up, or you just feel not as motivated, what do you do, or what do you tell yourself to just keep moving forward?
I just give up on that day. Well, I actually have two answers to that. One is, sometimes you just have a bad day. Like, sometimes you just do, and that day's a wash, you know? Like, I think there's a part of me that always resists when I'm like not mentally as strong, or like mentally there. And like, when I try to force myself on those days, sometimes it ends up worse. So what I've learned to have with myself is like, maybe I've been grinding too hard and I'm having a bad day for a reason, because my body needs to reset and recharge. That's okay, you know? You're not gonna be 100% you every single day. So that's the first part of the answer. Second part of the answer is, when you've got that clear vision and like clear North Star of who you wanna be, where you wanna go, and why, when every action that you take every day gets you a step closer to that. And just like keeping in mind, like, that's the destination, no matter what like road bumps or issues you run into along the way, having like super clear and clarity on, hey, this is me 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future, it provides motivation. At least for me, thinking like, oh man, like, if I do this today, I'm gonna be exactly where I wanna be 10 years from now.
Awesome, dude. Cool. So one last question. I'm always gonna finish this podcast with this final question. So you're 30, 28?
27.
27, okay. So let's say you meet somehow, somewhere, something fantastical happens, you wake up and it's 30 years from now, you're walking down the street and you see a 57-year-old Eric Yu just hanging out, and you guys cross paths. What would you want that 57-year-old to say to you?
What would I want my 57-year-old self to say to me? Good question.
30 years later.
Wow.
Take all the time you need, man.
Everything that you're doing comes back to family at the end of the day. Don't lose sight of that, and just make sure that you keep it clear in your mind. And I just said this, I'm like, keep your North Star clear, but like, it's easy to fall off path sometimes. And just be very clear with yourself every day what that North Star is, and you're gonna get exactly where you wanna be.
Awesome, dude, awesome. All right, guys, Eric Yu, make sure you guys follow him on all of his socials. I'll be sure to leave links down in my description, but Eric, dude, it was fun, man.
It's a pleasure.
It's great. All right, guys, keep loving the grind. Take care.